significantly updated us on the COVID restrictions. So we're going to go into that this morning. That's the main part of the show. We will also deal with some matters arising in the financial sector with SEC and then receivables sending important statements out. And what is left with Japan would also deal with in the last hour if there's time. We're also launching a new program on radio and television tomorrow. We'll tell you more about that. It's called the Voters Diary. So it's a busy morning. Welcome back to the morning radio. And for some reason, Kokui is breaking all the laws of dressing. It's not for me to talk about how people dress, but to wear a kaba top and then to wear, guys, look, she's wearing an Arsenal raincoat or I don't know what's a raincoat or like a jacket or like a blazer or I mean who
you see Bernard
bleeding. No,
see,
is it the weather is not cool, it's not raining.
The studio is chilling
now. Even if you are going to wear an Arsenal jacket, wear it on top of like
this is what you wear in the village when your hen lays legs in the bush.
They are going to look like
it in the night.
Exactly. You guys are haters.
Just because Arsenal has won a game.
Look,
Kokui has gone to pull out.
See,
is it Bernard?
You were all here on Friday.
Yes.
You say, how can Arsenal beat Liverpool?
But
how can Arsenal beat Liverpool?
It was 1-1.
Liverpool has been playing friendlies.
But
Liverpool has been going to Austria.
Congratulations, Kokui. Your lunch for this week is on me because Arsenal won. Liverpool, I say Liberty.
What French chops can you put it like that?
I shall give myself.
I don't think Liberty professional. So it's the game for anything you cannot describe.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Let me just tell you about what we have today. So it's 6:33. Lots of important news items to bring to you. But Airtel Tigo is proud to be associated with the newspaper review. 2 important things to note: free morning calls from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. for 6 months. And there's also free Airtel Tigo money transfers for 6 months as well. So it's free for 6 months, both calls and money transfer. Get a new Airtel Tigo SIM, make transactions with Airtel Tigo money, and get free Airtel Tigo calls. Dial *110#, select option 2, select free morning calls to subscribe for only 2 cedis, and you can talk all morning. The Fidelity 10/10 promo is still on. Use your Fidelity Visa card at least 10 times this week for a chance to be the weekly winner. And on September 10, the highest transacting customer will take home 10,000 cedis. So every time you fill your tank, buy groceries, or get that birthday gift for that special someone, you're increasing your chance of winning the weekly prize or the grand prize of 10,000 cedis. Pay with your Fidelity Visa card to be winner in the Fidelity 10/10 promo. And we're also sponsored by Total Quartz Future 0W20. The 9000 Future 0W20 delivers excellent engine protection, cleans and increases your oil change interval, and reduces your fuel consumption. For optimum performance of your engine, move to the nearest Total service station now. And also supported by Enterprise Life. Enterprise, your advantage. Okay, so let's get into the headlines. Kokui and Kojo, thank you for joining us. Kokui, what's the first story?
All right, Daily Graphic. President abates COVID-19 restrictions. International flights resume tomorrow. Land, sea borders remain closed, and new academic year begins in January. Also, government wholly owns Ejapa, that's the finance ministry saying that, and clients of 22 fund managers will be paid, says the SEC. Also, Daily Graphic's editor won an award. So that's the Daily Graphic front page.
Now, the Ghanaian Times. Kotoka International Airport opens tomorrow. Land seaports remain closed. Senior and junior high schools reopen October 5 as government gives further eases and further instructions. Ejapa is 100% government owned. This is the finance ministry. 2 shot dead at Homowo celebration. Alleged witch 60 beaten at Damongo. And if you go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times, very, very sad story. Drought destroys 600 rice farms in Keti North. 700 acres affected, and over 300,000 Ghana cedis in damages estimated.
There was a story last week in the Graphic about farms in the north.
Rice farms.
We need to pay attention.
Okay.
All right, the Daily Guide. Ejapa fight gets hotter. 100% government owned. Also, Nana opens Kotoka Airport. Another witch brutality case recorded. And Ahoy book gives NDC headache.
Now, to define that, government owns Ejapa 100%. This is the finance ministry. Ghana is replying Nigeria. Nigerians in Ghana not being harassed. This is Kojo Opon Kroma. €85 million water project to benefit 400,000 people in 3 districts in the Volta. And court clears 22 customers of 22 firms under SEC to receive payments.
The Daily Statesman. President reopens Kotoka, but harbors and land borders still closed. Also, €85 million Keta water project takes off. Finance Ministry. Ejapa is 100% owned by government. And Ghana responds to accusations by Nigerian government.
Now, the Chronicle. Ex-senior military officer goes bonkers over Dom Fase fracas. He says that we should leave out soldiers from monkey duties. Yes, so he said it. Ghana sets record straight over alleged harassment of Nigerians. Government controls all the shares of Ejapa. And court orders NDCPC to apologize to Afenyo Markin over defamatory comments. Some other stories. Ghana Exim Bank woos Ghanaians to patronize local products.
The Publisher. 2 killed at Ga Festival as bullets fly. And Ejapa royalty deal is terrible and corrupt, says Imani's Mr. Kofi Bentil. Ifutu NDC candidate begs Afenyo Markin and NDC members storm Nima police station to demand release of small-scale miners president.
Now, if you check the new Crusading Guide, Ejapa royalty deal, Finance Minister shoots down claims. John Kuma commissions ultra-modern toilet facility at Abenasi in the Jose constituency. Now, if you check the Dumping Pepasa chieftaincy troubles, the paper says Takwa Inshaim MP and MC accused, and some other stories.
The Daily Heritage. Ejapa deal insulting. Imani demands rejection and protests. Another woman attacked with cutlass over witch claims. Communities mentioned by Bawumia in Tracker do not exist, says Nabdam NDC. And murder of Pram Pram Mankralo. My family calls for swift action on dispute over stool.
The Finance Ministry is still clearing the air, and that story is on the front page of the Ghanaian Observer. This is still to do with the Ejapa deal. Ghana Exims made in Ghana for P. Major boost for local business. Cap 30 for all security services. This is Vice President Bawumia speaking. And Carlos Ahinkra tipped to win Tema West by 63%. On the votes.
The Informer. I'll cancel Ejapa deal, Mahama vows. Akufo-Addo revives Volta with €85 million Keta water project. Government to improve prisons' health system, says Dr. Bawumia. And Nigeria warns Ghana over retail trade war between traders of the 2 countries.
There is big news and good news on the front page of the Gold Street Business. Ghana anticipates a $10 billion boost to the economy from aluminium trade. This is the big news. Ghana's port activities also declined by 7.3%. Not so good. And global gold market trends favor Ejapa royalty.
And the Economy Times. Bank of Ghana prepares to unwind some counter-cyclical measures. Kotoka International Airport reopens. Arriving passengers will spend 15 minutes to get COVID-19 results and no quarantine. And new communication service tax begins this week.
Let me take you online and give you a few more headlines. City Newsroom. Alex Mode writes, Ejapa royalty state capture raises its ugly head again. Also, President of Concerned Small-Scale Miners granted bail after NDC protest. Second year SHS, JHS students resume October 5. And as we've read already, air borders reopened effective September 1. Land sea borders remain closed. Other stories on the same website. 3 women attacked after witchcraft accusation in Savannah region. And receiver struggles to retrieve records of 35 defunct financial institutions to validate their claims. Meanwhile, WAEC releases timetable for 2020 BEC. Now, citybusinessnews.com. Second-hand clothes sellers decry low sales amid COVID-19. This is La Paz. Imani provides detailed reasons for rejecting the Ejapa deal, and Ghana Exim Bank launches Made in Ghana for 4P campaign. MyJoyOnline.com leads with the border story and playback of the president's address, and also the details of JHS and SHS2 students returning. So nothing really new there. If you go to Star News, midwife warns against barrenness as scores of girls consume emergency pills at Bongo. Meanwhile, 2 shot dead, 1 injured during Homo celebration at Abose Okai. And trade impasse. Ghana rejects Nigeria's claims, seeks diplomacy. So those are the big stories. I think the president's address is captured in almost all the papers.
Yes,
Maybe just go through the highlights in some of the headlines in the
shall.
stories for us.
All right. So on the front page of Daily Graphic, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has further eased some of the restrictions on movement imposed to contain the spread of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic. They include the opening of the Kotoka International Airport to international traffic from tomorrow, amid strict measures to ensure the safety of passengers and workers at the airport and the observance of health protocols. President Akufo-Addo also announced a phased opening of schools, with the next academic year for pre-tertiary schools shifted to January next year. Form 2 senior high school, SHS, and junior high school, JHS students are expected to return to school from October 5th to December 14th this year to complete the 2019-2020 academic year. The remaining time on the academic calendar for all nursery, kindergarten, primary, JHS 1 and SHS 1 students has been postponed, with the next academic year to resume in January 2021. And it goes ahead to talk about the airport reopening, other measures that will be taking place. The reopening of the schools obviously goes into more detail, and many people are wondering what's going to happen to the students who will not be in school till the beginning of next year.
In terms of details, one of the things that caught attention is the fact that SHS and JHS 2 students are resuming on October 5. But the president says that disregard for COVID-19 preventive protocols is unacceptable. And I want to read that angle for you. The president has decried the fast decline in the level of compliance to COVID-19 preventive protocols in parts of the country. The president said this development is, quote, unacceptable and could reverse the gains the country has made in the fight against COVID-19. He was leaving his 16th update on the fight against COVID-19 and said the COVID-19 preventive measures must become the norm until there is a declaration of no case in the country. And then he says the high compliance rate with mask wearing of persons surveyed by GHS in some selected areas of Accra, to which I referred optimistically to in my last address, has, according to a new survey by the same service, falling alarmingly. This is not acceptable, as the enhanced hygiene, mask wearing and social distancing protocols must now be the central feature of our lives, and they must continue to remain so for some time to come until we see the elimination of the virus from the country, the president said.
Now, on the reopening of airports, which is very welcome news for a lot of people, he said that all the international airlines had been duly notified of the new measures and would be required to ensure strict compliance to the protocols. He said every passenger entering the country must show evidence of a negative COVID-19 test result conducted not more than 72 hours from scheduled departure. And that upon disembarking, he said passengers would be required to undergo another mandatory COVID-19 test at their own expense, and added that the test results would be ready within 30 minutes. Now, talking on sports, yes.
That's good.
Yes, that's really good. And if you can do tests and get results in
30 minutes,
it means that with time we can have the confidence to do a lot more things and open up the economy.
Yes.
Now, touching on sports, he said with the exception of non-contact sports, all sporting activities would remain closed till further notice.
Oh, President, that's what I was hoping you would talk about.
Well, he talked about it, but not.
Meanwhile, there's a task force that says that enforcing the mask directive in Accra is challenging. So the Gamma task force says it is challenging its efforts to enforce the wearing of face mask directive. They say it is also concerned that the lack of adherence to the directives may cause a spike in COVID-19 cases in the country. Now, the coordinator of Gamma Task Force, Ni Ajetewe, in a City News interview said the task force has recently observed the trend of many people gathering in public spaces without masks in the metropolitan area, and they have expressed deep concern about this. All right, now let's go to the second issue. I think the Ejapa deal was in the news pretty seriously. There are sort of a number of quotes from various places. So just give us the highlights.
The Ghanaian Times has almost a full page dedicated to that.
Okay.
Page 7. Ejapa is 100% government-owned finance ministry. The Finder also has a page dedicated to that. Now, the story says the Ejapa Mineral Royalty Limited is 100% entity owned by the Ghana government, the Ministry of Finance has said. Our Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Edubwai, making a presentation to the media in Accra last Thursday, said, contrary to views held that some unforeseen hands own the Ejapa, it is 100% owned by the government of Ghana. Now, according to him, the company, Ejapa Mineral Royalty Limited, is to be listed on the London and Ghana stock exchanges after their approval by appropriate regulatory authorities in Ghana and London.
I think the concern was that there's nothing in the deal that prevents the majority shareholding we have to be reduced, so that when the shares are floated and the demand is more, it could well mean that, and I remember it was asked of me him over the weekend, that the majority shares we had, which will be 51%, could be further diluted depending on the market dynamics. Let me read two related stories. So Yao Opong was on the big issue this weekend, and he's also said an interesting thing. He says that the deal is not absolute and that the future government can repeal it. Now that's interesting. A private legal practitioner, Yao Opong, says the Japan royalties deal agreement is not cast in stone, hence any future government can abrogate it. Speaking on CCTV's weekend current affairs show, the big issue, Mr. Opong said any stabilization agreement that says there will be no judicial, no legislative, no executive power authority that can change it, for me, is not absolute, in the sense that this agreement has been approved by Parliament, and if a Parliament can amend and repeal laws, why can't they repeal and set aside this agreement? It has, however, been said in Ndebruge versus an Attorney General case that when it comes to revocation or setting of an agreement aside, it is an executive act, but that does not mean the Parliament cannot also deal with it in the sense of supporting the executive in a way to change or vary part of the agreement. Now, this is in relation to what people like Mr. Mahama have been saying about the fact that they would repeal the Japan deal, and some people are saying that this agreement is in perpetuity, that we are mortgaging our royalty flows forever. That's the answer there. And then there are a couple of more articles. We go to citynewsroom.com, a few articles there on the Japa deal.
Yeah, and one here in the Daily Guide as well, talking about comments from Imani Africa and a reference to the letter authored by the Attorney General. So another member of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons, claimed that the whole deal was without what he called an effective term, saying that the fact that the term is not there indefinitely is beyond dispute and debate. In the final agreement, the beneficiary, in this case Ejapa, still has the capability to a successor agreement and renewal leases to be considered as part of the original term. He even claimed the Attorney General had written a letter expressing her disapproval to certain aspects of the deal and said she abandoned her line of advice in a second letter after meeting the finance minister. Even though the Attorney General, Gloria Kufu, has not publicly commented on the matter, various media outlets have claimed she described the deal as onerous, unconscionable, and a violation of Bank of Ghana Act, and has also claimed she changed her mind after several meetings with those working on the transaction.
The third group of stories I want you guys to look out for me is SEC and Receiver have sent statements out. SEC issued a statement on Saturday, I think it is, in relation to companies that have now been cleared by the court for payments to be made for customers. And then the Receiver also issued a statement over the same weekend on a related matter. So if you can just give us those highlights.
The SEC story. Now the story says court clears customers of 22 firms and the SEC to receive payments. Now Elvis Darko writes that clients of 22 fund management companies whose licenses have been revoked by the Securities and Exchange Commission will receive notification for payment modalities next month. The Registrar General, which has been appointed the official liquidator for these companies, will communicate details of the payment process to affected clients starting this September. It was agreed that rolling out of the bailout package promised by the government will proceed after claims were properly validated and liquidation orders secured. A statement issued by the SEC updating the public on the progress made so far said that out of the petition filed against 50 companies as required by law, the court has granted 22 based on their validated claim, and the names are here. Should I share them?
If there are not that many.
22 names.
Okay, that's a lot. But what about the ones that didn't go through? Because that's also the big issue. I think there was Black Shield, where they said they've not had access to some information. And Black Shield has issued a rejoinder to that statement. We'll share all of those with the viewers and listeners throughout the show. But then the Receiver has also issued a statement where he's also saying that he's struggling to retrieve records of 35 defunct financial institutions to validate 252 million Ghana cedis in claims. I have the story here. The Receiver of the 347 microfinance companies, 23 savings and loans and finance houses, Eric Ananipa, says he's unable to undertake a detailed asset tracing of 35 resolved companies to enable him validate and settle claims of depositors under the depositor payment scheme. According to him, he is still working with IOCO to locate and retrieve the manual and electronic books and records of these companies. A statement issued by the Receiver explained that the 35 resolved companies have depositor claims worth approximately 252 million cedis. And then the details and the breakdown are given.
All right, staying with collapsed financial institutions, how much has been retrieved from CEOs of failed banks? And this is the Director of Operations at Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson. And he's asking how much money has been retrieved from some of these collapsed banks. He said the action is good of the government trying to sanitize the sector, but the Bank of Ghana has a duty to let the public know how much has also been retrieved from the directors and chief executive officers of the collapsed banks. He says depositors have been paid. Good. What about the CEOs, directors, Bank of Ghana officials, etc., whose reckless and greedy acts caused the banks to collapse? The public purse is severely depleted. who has been prosecuted, how much money has been retrieved. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, revealed that about 95% of customers of the 9 collapsed banks during the cleanup exercise in the banking sector have been fully paid. He said, we had the reform in 2 phases to do with the banking system, where we revoked the licenses of the banks and depositors got their money. Okay.
Now, let me take you to the Domfasi issues. Page 3 of the Chronicle. Leave out soldiers from monkey duties. Now, the story says a retired senior military officer who does not want to be named has called on the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces to leave out the revered military from what he describes as monkey duties. Speaking in an interview with the Chronicle over the recent skirmishes at Domfasi, which led to the invasion of the village by soldiers, the army officer, who is also an expert in conflict management, said no one should dare make any attempt to justify what happened in the village. According to him, the political commentators, including ministers trying to window dress and justify the presence of the military on the disputed land, should not be offered oxygen to survive. The ex-military officer was equally at a loss as to who is telling the truth, when reports coming from the top suggested that the soldiers were there as part of Operation Calm Life.
Okay.
Now, on what the traditional authorities are doing, the Chronicle reports that the Apejahene Osaberima Asante Frimpong is suggesting to the government to establish a committee to look into last week's disturbances at Domfasi, which should have representation from all the factions.
All right, let's go to Agric now.
Yeah.
Yes, Agric. All right, in the Daily Graphic, rabbit farms under virus attack. About 1 million Ghana cedis lost through 20,000 deaths. So
Very,
rabbit farmers,
very serious.
yes,
Very, very serious.
farmers in the Ashanti region are appealing for assistance from the government to enable them to get a vaccine to combat the spread of the rabbit hemorrhagic fever virus that has killed their animals. They're also appealing for compensation for the loss of their animals, as most of them have lost all their animals since the spread of the virus began in May this year. Even though the outbreak of the virus started early in February, it worsened around May and June when most of the animals died. It's estimated that the farmers have lost close to 1 million Ghana cedis in revenue from the loss of about 20,000 rabbits since the outbreak of the virus early this year.
Still in
Now,
Agric.
yes, drought destroys 600 rice farms in Ketu North. Now, the story says some 600 farmers of Maji and Devego
The Vegu.
near
Yes.
Joje in the Ketu North municipality of the Volta region have lost their vast rice farms to drought.
Oh.
In all, 700 acres of rice farms have dried up due to the severe weather conditions in the area.
Charlie.
The NADMO has estimated the damage to be at around 300,000 Ghana cedis. The area has recorded no rainfall in the past 4 months.
Seriously.
Yes. Subsequently, River Plea, on which the rice farms depend for growing their crop, has dried up. The situation has now deprived the farmers of their livelihood. And the chief of the town has told a team of NADO officials who told the affected farms that the farmers who took loans to produce rice were in a serious state of calamity.
Wow.
As their creditors were now knocking at their doors.
I want you to do something for me. Get the graphic last week and also compare the other story
It was
about
the Ghanaian
farms.
Times. It
Fantastic.
was the Fumbisi Valley.
So,
Same
so let's
rice
get there,
issue.
because don't forget, Exim Bank has launched Made in Ghana products. We did Made in Ghana rice.
Yeah.
So if there are challenges with production, the Agric Ministry. Now I want you to go to the Ghana response to Nigeria issue. That's in the Statesman. Just give me the highlights of that, please.
All right. So Ghana responds to accusations by Nigerian government following recent threats by the Nigerian government with regard to its current relations with Ghana. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, the Minister of Information, has assured that Ghana remains committed to the maintenance of warm relations with all sister nations. In relation to the alleged seizure of the Nigerian mission's property, which the Nigerian government describes as a serious breach of the Vienna Convention, Mr. Oppong Nkrumah said the statement was inaccurate in the sense that the transaction was a commercial arrangement between Thomas D. Hardy, a private citizen, and the High Commission of Nigeria in Ghana on 23rd October 1959.
It was a very comprehensive response, and I
Very.
think we'll read it on the show as well. I feel
Very.
that's the way to go for now. Let's leave it here. There's a lot to do on the program, and we hope to give you enough insight to make good choices. That's all we have time for. My name is Bernard. We'll come back with the city business news right after this break.
Charlie, check this.